32 years after Joe Biden first ran for office, he is now the Democratic nominee for president. He has run for president a few times. It's his third time. But we're wondering, why is he persisting? Well, Jill Biden says he does it for you. She explained that from her classroom, which I actually thought was a nice touch, given that the moment that we're living in, the crisis facing schools across the country, families across the country deciding whether or not they should send their kids to school. Jill Biden is an educator, and she continued to educate while she was in the vice president, the second lady. That's what it is, the second lady. That is a hard thing to say. But what will Joe Biden actually do for you if he is elected? That is the ultimate question. He has literally invited everybody into this big tent convention to the point where it's starting to lag in wait. It's, sag and lag at the same time. AOC once said, as we all have heard over and over, that in any other country in the world, Joe Biden and she would be in two different parties, probably warring with each other. But in this country, where more than two parties gum up the machine, Biden has added in the Republican generals, the governors, the Republican lobbyists, the Democratic lobbyists, the corporate lobbyists, the CEOs, as well as a cavalcade of centrists. Maybe the weirdest moment was when he resurrected a deceased Republican senator to embrace him. Bosom buddies, partners in privatization, partners in amping up wars. You get the point that this is a big country with a lot of different views. But was it appropriate for deceased late Senator John McCain to do a montage of their love fest over the last 40 years? I mean, what voters is that going to win over? But Biden really needs to motivate working people. He needs to motivate progressives. He needs to motivate black voters. He needs to motivate the unexcited voters. He needs to motivate Latinos. He needs to motivate the LGBTQ community. He needs to motivate millennials and even a couple Zoomers who are going to be 18. But it felt like last night he mostly needed to motivate AOC. Both John Kasich and Bernie Sanders pointed out that they did not agree with Biden on every position, but in completely opposite directions. This is a very confusing party we are in very confusing times. Rahm Emanuel added that neither Medicare for All nor the Green New Deal is the party platform. Dorsey, can we roll that quick clip of Rahm Emanuel saying that last night? Give me 1 second, guys. Is that running, Dorsey? There we go.
And then you had 30-year-old Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Mayor Emanuel, where does AOC fit in all of this?
I mean, tonight is both the past and the future. You have a legacy, and I think the bigger piece is the values that emanate us as a party. And Jill touched on that he will treat your family the way he treats our family, and remembering that America is one giant family that we care for each other. And so I think that she's part of the future. There was a diversity there, but it also proposed from family leave to global climate change to any one of those policies, I think does that.
She barely got a minute of airtime tonight, pledging her support for her fellow progressive candidate, Bernie Sanders. Yvette, do you think that progressives like AOC are going to be able to bury the hatchet and unify the party?
I think we already have. I mean, the reality is most, a supermajority, almost 100% of progressives support Joe Biden, are going to work and are already working together with the Biden campaign to make sure we deliver victory. I think the big question and what people don't get about progressives is that we're always fighting for a better future. That's why we're progressives. And so as much as we are excited about getting rid of Donald Trump, we know there is more work to do. We're a little disappointed by the fact that we're in the middle of a pandemic. We're in the middle of racial unrest, and we can't talk about health care in the way that we know that people need us to talk about health care. We're in the middle of a racial unrest. We can't talk about what we need to do to end the preschool to prison pipeline, to get rid of talk about the crime bill and how we need to make sure that we decarcerate our prisons. These are conversations that we would expect to be able to have in a year like this, but we're not. We're talking about what Donald Trump is or is not, which is a very big disappointment.
Can I just jump in? I apologize. in the end of the day, politically, it's about winning, and Donald Trump is the single greatest issue, and we want to make this a referendum on him.
We disagree about that.
I know we do.
Think that
but
we
I'm with
still
the American
want
people on this one.
People want to vote for something, Rahm, and you know that.
I do.
And we already know that Donald Trump is a disaster. We don't need 4 days of that. We need to know what we're going to do to make people whole.
Yeah, I'm for 4 days of making sure that Donald Trump, they know he's a disaster, and we have the answer to that problem.
Rahm Emanuel, he is there standing up for what we all see is the corporate class. The best Bernie could do was say he was with Biden and he thinks that Biden will move in the right direction. I think the big question here is, will that motivate voters? Will that get them to the polls? The phrase, he has a plan, is a favorite phrase that has been said and recited over and over at the convention, but we've yet to hear that plan. And that is what Yvette was highlighting. And as virtually every single speaker in those first 2 days has pointed out, the alternative of keeping Donald Trump is way worse. Maybe being against Donald Trump will be enough to bring everyone together for now, but I really don't know if it's going to motivate folks, as Yvette said. And the fight over the what the Democrats are for will be put off until next year. Thanks for watching and listening to The Nomiki Show. But remember to click like and subscribe on YouTube, and please share on social media. If you're not already a patron, please join us for as low as $5 a month on patreon.com/The Nomiki Show for early and special content. That investment makes a huge difference. We are not corporate media raking in the dough. It's really you guys that are keeping us going. So please consider being a patron. And to our current patrons, thank you so much. We are incredibly grateful to you. We also now have swag. So check us out on thenomikishow.com to get your mugs, your totes, and your stickers.